You know, when it comes to WordPress, there is a lot of little things happening behind the scenes that most people don't even notice. And one of those things is a tiny file with just 3 words. Silence is golden. Sounds mysterious, right? Almost like it belongs in a secret society or a spy movie. But in reality, it's a simple security trick that helps protect certain files and folders in WordPress. My name is Daniel, and today we are diving into what silence is golden actually means in the WordPress world. If you've ever explored your WordPress files and come across this phrase, you might have wondered what it's doing there. Is it important? Should you delete it? Does it actually do anything? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. We'll go over where silence is golden comes from, how it works, and why developers use it. Plus, we'll discuss whether it's still necessary today or just a relic of the past. Guys, make sure you check out all the useful links in the description after watching this video. There might be some nice discounts there. So stick around, my friends, because this is going to be an interesting one. What is silence is golden? Alright, let's start with the basics. What exactly is silence is golden in WordPress? If you ever open up a plugin or theme folder, you might come across an index.php file that doesn't contain any actual code, just a single line that says, "That's it. No functions, no logic. Just that phrase sitting there. At first it looks completely unnecessary, right? But it's actually a security measure. WordPress by default has tons of files and directories, and some of them contain sensitive information. If someone tries to access one of these folders directly through a browser, they could see a list of all the files inside. That's not something you want, especially if those files contain important configuration settings or private data. The silence is golden file is a simple way to block that from happening. Instead of showing the directory contents, it ensures that if someone tries to open the folder in their browser, all they'll see is a blank page. The origins of silence is golden. Now, where did this come from? Did WordPress just randomly decide to use this phrase? The saying "silence is golden" has been around for centuries. It's basically a way of saying that sometimes keeping quiet is the best option. And that's exactly the idea behind this security measure. Instead of showing an error message or any kind of hint about what's inside the folder, it just shows nothing. Silence. No clues, no information, just a blank page. The practice of using a blank index.php file for security purposes started showing up in WordPress plugin and theme development as a quick and easy way to prevent unwanted access. Since WordPress relies on PHP, any folder without an index file could potentially expose its contents to the public. This simple trick becomes a best practice and has been widely used by developers ever since. How does silence is golden work and why is it used? So, how does this actually work in WordPress? And why do people still use it today? When you install a plugin or theme, it creates new folders inside your WordPress installation. Some of these folders contain files that should never be accessed directly, like PHP scripts that interact with your database or handle important functions. Without protection, someone could type the URL of one of these folders into their browser, and depending on the server settings, they might be able to see a full list of the files inside. That's a security risk. By placing an empty index.php file with the "silence is golden" message inside these folders, WordPress ensures that if anyone tries to access them, they won't see anything. Instead of a directory listing, they'll just get a blank page. This method is super lightweight and doesn't require any extra configuration. It works on pretty much any web server that runs PHP, which is why it's still commonly used today. But guys, it's always better to show you exactly how it works than just talk about it. Let's explore the silence is golden directive on our WordPress site, which is hosted on Verpex. This is a hosting service specifically designed for WordPress that offers very competitive pricing compared to other providers. Let's go to our website. In the WordPress dashboard, or more precisely, within the WordPress files themselves, there's a directive called "silence is golden." If we open any folder, no matter which one, we'll find a file named index.php inside. Now let's check what's inside this index.php file. When we open it, we see just a single PHP directive and this pretty meaningful phrase, "Silence is golden." So what does this directive actually do? Right now we're in the WP content folder. So if we try to access the WP content directory on our website, we'll just see a blank white page. The user won't see anything, and that's exactly what this directive does. It displays an empty page instead of revealing the folder's contents. But what happens if we disable this directive? Let's try it. We'll rename the index.php file and then refresh the WP content page. Now, instead of a blank page, users have access to all the folders and files inside the WP content directory. Clearly, this is a security risk. So we need to restore our index.php file with the silence is golden directive. Let's quickly put it back before any cybercriminals manage to hack our website. And there we go. The blank page is back just as it should be. Now let's talk about another useful WordPress directive, located in the wp-config.php file, which you'll find in the root directory of your WordPress site. Let's go ahead and edit this file. If you're using Verpex Hosting, you might see a warning in the Verpex control panel about the file's character encoding. Just open the file as is and look for the directive called wp-debug. By default, this setting is set to false, which is the correct value. However, I want to show you what happens if we change it to true. We'll then save the changes. Now, if there are any errors in our code, they'll be displayed on the website. For example, here we see an error on line 40. If we change the directive back to false and refresh the page, we can see that the error notification has disappeared. So if you're a web developer, you can set wp-debug to true to help with debugging. However, for regular users and for deploying, always keep it set to false. And guys, keep in mind that silence is golden isn't the only way to protect your website. A solid hosting provider is actually your first line of defense. Providers like Verpex offer advanced security features right out of the box, such as firewalls, virus scanning, SSL encryption, and automatic updates, all crucial for keeping your site secure. On top of that, Verpex offers 24/7 support, so if any security issues do arise, their team can quickly help you handle them. That means you can focus on your content while they focus on your site's safety. Pros and cons of the Silence is Golden directive. Now, let's talk about the pros and cons. Like anything in web development, this method has its strengths and weaknesses. One of the biggest benefits of using the Silence is Golden directive is that it adds an extra layer of security to your WordPress site. By preventing direct access to certain files, it makes it harder for hackers or malicious bots to exploit vulnerabilities. Instead of exposing error messages or sensitive information, WordPress simply serves up a blank page, which keeps prying eyes from learning anything useful about your site's structure. It's a simple but effective way to reduce the risk of security breaches. Another great advantage is that it can actually help with performance. When error messages and warnings are constantly being generated, they can slow down your site, especially on the backend. By keeping these messages hidden, WordPress runs more smoothly, and your pages load faster. This might not make a huge difference for a small site, but for larger sites, with a lot of plugins and customizations, every bit of performance improvement counts. It also makes managing your website a little cleaner. Instead of random error messages popping up in unexpected places, the Silence is Golden directive helps keep things looking neat and professional. This is especially useful for developers or agencies managing multiple client sites, since it ensures that visitors or non-technical users won't see confusing or unnecessary error messages. Now, on the flip side, while Silence is Golden helps with security and performance, it can sometimes make troubleshooting a little more challenging. If something goes wrong on your site, maybe a plugin update didn't go as planned, or there's a conflict between themes, it can be harder to figure out what's happening because the errors are hidden. When debugging, it's often useful to see those warnings so you can pinpoint the issue faster. In cases like this, you might need to temporarily disable the directive to get a better idea of what's going wrong. So while Silence is Golden is definitely a helpful tool, there are times when it might get in the way, especially if you're trying to diagnose a problem. Whether or not you should use it really depends on what you prioritize more: security and performance or easier debugging. Final thoughts. So, should you care about the Silence is Golden directive in WordPress? Well, my friends, While it might not be the most groundbreaking security measure, it's still a good practice to follow. It's a small but useful trick that helps add an extra layer of protection to your site. If you're developing WordPress themes or plugins, it's definitely worth including in your project, just as a precaution. And if you are just a regular WordPress user, you don't really need to do anything. Just know that if you see this file inside your WordPress folders, it's there for a reason, and you should probably leave it alone. At the end of the day, website security is all about layering multiple protections together. Silence is golden is one piece of that puzzle, but it works best alongside other security measures, like keeping your WordPress installation updated, using strong passwords, and setting proper file permissions. Alright folks, that's everything you need to know about the Silence is Golden directive in WordPress. I hope this cleared things up and gave you a better understanding of why it exists. As always, if you have any questions or thoughts, drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, until next time.